Good day there, everyone. It's Benjamin Solo here, and I'm with the Cold Lake Paranormal Investigation Society. Now, there's a lot of tools out there that are for the trade when it comes down to it. I want to clarify, a lot of these tools do help in investigations. They help know if something is there or not. The main thing about it is to confirm whether something is actually, let's say, a problem, or if it's just good old-fashioned electronics doing their thing. That's what these kind of tools are here to do. Now, of course, everyone to start out with, the Emf Meter is really the most popular one. You've seen in a lot of shows, such as Supernatural, any of the ghost hunter shows out there, they've all got one. A lot of movies bring it up as well. Now, EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency. And what this little guy is meant to do is, just as the title says, it's meant to pick up electromagnetic frequencies within a certain range. Now, a lot of electronics will put these frequencies off, such as televisions, any type of speakers, anything really that has some sort of electrical field to it, and that's what we're looking at to find, because technically, spirits, entities, ghosts, whatever you will want to call them, they do put off that sort of field as well. That's where their energy comes with. To sum it up, let's say this little guy looks for energy fields. Now, that's the kind of beep it makes. When you are using this sort of tool, it picks up that frequency. Namely, the point is to find what does emit a frequency, and then if there is no reason for a frequency to be emitted, such as right now, I'm in the middle of nowhere where there's no real electrical field except for the camera in front of us, and this guy is, you can see there, doing its job. Let me catch the light. Silly light, we'll come to that. But the point is, this little guy is meant to detect those frequencies. Now, when it goes off, as you heard when it starts up there, it does give a beep and a light in this case. Let's hear that one more time, just because I like beeps and lights. Very cool. Now, this guy has a very specific purpose, and that is to find those type of frequencies that are being emitted. Now, if you are in some sort of area, and I've been in there before, to where you've got no reason for anything to be emitting, and yet you can be holding this right in the middle of everything, and it's making that kind of beep. That was just me turning it on. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see or not, but we'll show that later. Now, as you can see here on this gauge, it does show as it gets hotter, so to speak, it starts beeping. They say it's measured in milligauss. It's measured in a milligauss, which is a form of measurement like anything, like centimeters, inches, mass, pounds, kilograms, whatever, except it's looking for an electric field. And yeah, right now we've got really nothing here, and it's not really making any type of noise. The gauge isn't up at all. I'm apparently not electrically charged, although neurons are one. Well, that's besides the point. Anyway, moving on. The next unit we have here. Now, again, you'll see this kind of guy in a lot of ghost hunter shows in particular. It's called a spirit box, particularly. This is the PSB7. Now, what this guy is meant to do, it actually has a built-in delay, which allows a person to essentially listen to EVP in real time. That is electronic voice phenomena. A lot of people would use a tape recorder. They would record something, and then when you play it back, you would hear things that you didn't hear before. This guy is meant to give you that live, so you don't have to have that effect. Now, as you can see, we've turned it on here. I don't know if you can hear that, because it's pretty quiet at this point. Turn that up some. There we go, level 30. Woo! So when you set it up properly, you pick a frequency, and then it's meant pick a sweep rate. Now, sweep rate means in milliseconds how often it's kind of taking its rate, and I'll show you right away what we mean by that. Now, as you can hear, that's sweeping through the frequencies in forward. Now, if you have any radio stations or whatnot, they can pick up that sort of interference, or, well, just the signal that's there. You can set it to FM or AM. depending on where you're at, it is better to use something that doesn't technically have any type of radio station or any type of broadcast to it. Namely because what this guy is designed to do is, they say energies use this type of energy to speak to us. It's how we can hear them. Just the same as if you record it on a tape player and play it back, you can hear things inside that type of format and type of the recording that you never heard with your normal ear. You know, this guy can sweep forwards or reverse. It's got many little versatile things that you can do with it. It is a handy tool if you need to do something in regards to live EVP. Namely, when it comes down to a lot of these tools, to have more than one unit going is really how you can distinctly find something, because you've got more than one thing scanning. If one tool misses it, the other one may pick it up. Next item here, very simply, this is just a temperature thermometer. It's meant to give you some real-time temperatures here. There's the beep that says we're ready to go. Now you just hold it, it scans a temperature and tells you what it is. In this case we're at 71.2, which is fairly room temperature, which is really what this house has. If you want to point it at myself, give it a second. Ooh, 82. Pretty hot. Now, they say energies, namely when you watch a lot of movies as well, it seems to get cold if something bad is nearby. So this is meant to pick up those kind of spots to where you scan your room. If it's around 72, your room is 72, that's great. If you end up scanning a place and suddenly it's a lot cooler, well, or warmer for that matter, but let's focus on the cooler at this point, chances are, they say, some form of energy might be there, in which case perhaps the other tools come out in order to find that sort of thing. The other thing as well, this is good for sensing drafts. If you get a drafty house, drafty window, sensing temperature spikes is namely all it's used for. To put it very simply, it's a very handy tool in that sense to really show you what your environment is like, and then that way if there's any type of changes, if you can't quite feel it, this will detect it, because sometimes just a subtle change is enough to show you what you need to see or feel. Now another unit that you'd use, of course, this is a very common recorder, digital recorder in this case. A little expensive this guy was, but this does a lot of things. It has a very ultra sensitive mic. Can do it all sorts of formats. I like to personally use the wave format because it's more of a higher quality, picks up more of a broad range of the frequencies that are out there. Namely, humans can perceive 20 hertz to 20,000 kilohertz of frequency. Now if one doesn't understand what that means, for example, when your refrigerator turns on, at least the old guys, they have what they call a 60 cycle hum, which means that electric outlet outputs at about 60 hertz, which if you really want to simplify it, that is a 60 hertz frequency that you are hearing when that goes on. Type of highs, for example, drum cymbals and whatnot, as you when you crash them, they're a lot higher frequency, probably more so in the range of 8 to 12,000. Maybe that's even reaching. Depends on the type of cymbal, the material it's exactly composed of. For example, a kick drum is usually about that 500 hertz frequency type of situation. To give you an idea, talking such as my voice is, well, everyone varies, but you could say it's between 5 and 1500 hertz for a frequency range. Again, there's always exceptions to every rule out there, but this is a guideline, more so gives you a range to say if you're within this range, chances are you're fine. Now there's lots of little apps out there that actually will help you see these frequencies, and then you'll know what's what. For example, this is one that I've downloaded on my phone called Frequency, and as you can tell, it just picks me up talking. Let's go. It just picks up my voice as I'm talking. It says what frequency it is, namely from the bottom here, we're near the 20s, going up here, we're the 20,000, and it's showing me where my voice is, namely, and as well anything else. Now, if we're going to be quiet for a moment, we've got a pretty flat line. Now, this should be all the way flat if we had absolutely nothing. I've got a fridge running. There's always a type of ambient noise, you can really say, or what they call white noise, that is just always there. Unless you walk out in the middle of a field with zero things around, there's always going to be some sort of frequency in there. Now, that type of app can pick that up. That is what, here it is. These little guys do perceive that sound. Some of the better mic mics can pick up even more things that we can't hear, to where it isn't a bad thing, because if there's a frequency there, something is there, whatever it may be, whether it's supernatural or not, perhaps remains to be seen, due in part to what we're here to help with. Now, another tool that really helps, or should I say can help, when it comes down to investigations is a laser pen. Very simply put, this guy gives you a type of grid that is able... Eyes can't always see everything, no matter how much we think we see. There's always something that's not there. If one subscribes to the parallel universe theory and whatnot, or parallel dimensions, there's another dimension right here with us now that we can't see. Maybe they can't see us, maybe they can. Who's to say at this point? There's a lot of research out there. If one wants to see a lot of great ideas, the truth is out there, but is not perhaps found yet. But the point of this guy is you set it up. It's pretty light here, so we're not going to really see much behind me now. But namely, you set it up so, and keep it on, that way if something goes by and our eyes can't see it, this might actually pick it up. Now when it comes down to it as well, you can get into some really ultra sensitive stuff, infrared cameras, any type of specialty device, motion sensors, whatever. Some of those investigators out there have a really lot of fancy equipment that really just helps them get more readings. Again, the more information that one has to process, the more likely you can find abnormalities in what you're looking for. Having all sorts of cameras isn't a bad thing to have. Always good to have GoPros, your good old-fashioned cameras, Sony Handycam. This is a Zoom Q4, which actually has a built-in mic on it as well, which is pretty fancy, because not only can you take some good quality video with this guy, but it also picks up some great sound quality as well. Namely, the same idea, set this guy up somewhere, let it run, and maybe you find something that you're not able to see or hear, but this guy can pick it up. If one is on a budget and still looking for some of these kind of tools to get, something like this is really handy to have, because really it's got a lot of the features of something such as your voice recorder, but also grabs your video. If you're limited, it's a great tool to have, and if you look on eBay or whatnot, you can find one fairly inexpensive. The long and short of it, that's kind of it. Again, there's a lot of people out there doing different things, namely the Cold Lake Paranormal Investigation Society. We're here to really find if something is actually some sort of supernatural occurrence happening, or if it's really just a good old-fashioned fridge running, perhaps old equipment somewhere, perhaps a leak in a window, anything that maybe will explain the type of occurrence that's happening, because when it comes right down to it, a lot of things aren't really paranormal, they're just simply normal. That's why we're here to investigate it, because until we can distinguish if it's normal or not, because when it comes down to it, anything could be classified as paranormal until you find out what it is. Any type of noise, maybe it's a creaky floor, maybe it's got some sort of weird sound to it because it echoes or reverberates off of pipes in the basement. Perhaps they use some sort of weird boards that just make some sort of weird cracking when you walk over it that sounds like something else, but really is just good old-fashioned house building at its oldest or newest. Things certainly aren't built the way they used to be. The point of this all is, there's a lot of equipment here. We have it to test to help anyone out there find out if what they have is paranormal or just simply another day at the office, or another day at home, or another day in the old warehouse, another day wherever you may be. I'm Benjamin Corey, my partner Michelle. We're here to help find these type of occurrences, strange occurrences, and to really just decipher what it may be. Not everyone has this type of equipment, but it's let's call it a fun thing to do. I like gadgets personally as well. I'm sensitive too, so that really helps in it, because if this type of equipment can't necessarily pick it up, perhaps I or my partner can. If you have any questions, any type of comments, it's certainly all welcome to just get answers for what one needs to do. Thank you. I'm Benjamin Corey.